Hi everybody, welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. If you've never been here before, never watched any of my videos, have no idea what I do, I cover true crime cases, and all of the cases that I cover are a little bit older. They're all basically 20 years or older. So if that's something that you might be interested in, maybe down below, click that subscribe button and also make sure to turn on the post notifications to be notified every time that I upload. So today's video is a collaboration. I am working with a company that I have worked with before. I am so thrilled to be working with them again. I have talked about them for years on my channel. Othram Inc. In my opinion, one of the most important companies in the world of true crime. If you're unfamiliar with Othram, Othram Incorporation is a for-profit organization dedicated to utilizing the power of genetic genealogy to identify both perpetrators and unidentified individuals. It was founded by David Middleman in the year 2018, and he and his wife, Kristen, run the company today with the help of their phenomenal team of forensic professionals. Their laboratory is based in Woodlands, Texas, and is the world's only laboratory built to combine genome sequencing with advanced human identification applications. I have covered many cases on my channel that they have helped give a resolution to, whether that be an identification or a conviction. The thing is though, is that they are incredibly underfunded. To solve these cases, they depend highly on crowdfunding. They use the site DNASolves to accomplish this. There are cases being uploaded on there on the regular that need help with funding, and that is kind of where I come in. Now, I have a series on my channel called Hits Home. I've had this series for about 5 years now. It's where I cover cases that directly affect some of my subscribers. This could be a case close to where you grew up, someone you knew, or a case you have a deeper connection to in some way. Today's video, I guess, could be categorized as my Hits Home because the two cases I'm covering today are from where I grew up, Volusia County. For most of this video, we are going to be discussing a Jane Doe that was identified last year after 3 decades, and then briefly discussing a John Doe from years prior that needs some help with its funding for identification. With all that being said, let's get right into it. This is the case of Volusia County Jane Doe from 1990. Volusia County is a county located in the east central part of Florida between the St. Johns River and the Atlantic Ocean. Today, like it has been for decades, it is known for its sandy beaches, including the famous Daytona Beach, which is a popular vacation destination for people during spring break. More popular though when MTV hosted their MTV Spring Break special there every year from 1986 to 1993. Volusia though is rich in history with several historic sites, including the Coquina Clock Tower and the Turnbull Ruins. Volusia County is definitely a haven for outdoor enthusiasts thanks to its numerous parks and waterways. You can spend your days fishing, hiking, boating, or basking on the sun-kissed beaches. However, like any other place, Volusia County has its own mysteries. A side of it shrouded in heartbreaking tragedy that is mostly overshadowed by the alluring descriptions printed in travel brochures. We're taking this one back to 1990. On April 23rd of 1990, a passerby made a gruesome discovery in a wooded area a little east of Clyde Morris Boulevard along a path that leads to Avenue D in the Daytona Pines subdivision of Ormond Beach, Florida, a city north of Daytona Beach. The individual located the lower half of human skeletal remains. Local law enforcement was notified of the findings and would go on to locate more remains scattered in the woods nearby. They delicately collected the remains and searched for any more clues, but their search proved fruitless. They found no clothes or personal belongings that seemed to have been in the individual's possession while they were alive. There was also no indicators as to who this person could have been in life, no forms of identification located anywhere. Like I said, her remains had been scattered, and law enforcement was unsure as to whether this had been done on purpose or as a result of animal activity. If there were any teeth marks on her bones, that has never been released to the public to my knowledge. An autopsy would be performed and it would be discovered that this individual was a Caucasian female believed to be between the ages of 25 to 40. They put her height between 5 feet and 5 feet 4 inches tall, and she had a medium build. They believed that she had been deceased between 3 to 8 weeks, but were more so leaning towards 8. She could have been there for about 2 months. They didn't know. She was badly decomposed at the time that she had been found. Another characteristic of hers was that she had brunette hair that had been tied back in pigtails with red bands. When it comes to her cause of death, it is believed to be strangulation due to the fact that she had a size medium nylon slip wrapped around her neck. This nylon slip was the only form of actual clothing found anywhere on or near her remains. Her wrists, though, had also been bound with rope. Due to this, she was immediately classified as a victim of homicide. Authorities knew that they had their work cut out for them. They combed through hundreds and hundreds of missing persons reports, but it didn't seem like she matched the description of any of the women in these reports. Who was this woman, though, and who was her killer? Forensics would show that she possibly birthed multiple children during her life, so she could have had children out there wondering where their mom was. They just wanted to know, what was her story? One thing that they heavily depended on for identification before many advancements in DNA technology was teeth. Comparing dental charts of Jane and John Doe's to people who were missing. In reports, her teeth were described as unusual. This adjective could have been used due to the fact that tooth number 13 was unerupted and impacted. Her second molar also had surface level decay, and she did have silver filling. Besides dental comparison, there was and still is the comparison of fingerprints. Unfortunately, though, they were unable to obtain any fingerprints from her due to her level of decomposition. The Volusia County Sheriff's Office tirelessly worked to identify this unknown woman, a woman they gave the name Jane Doe number 2, or Volusia County Jane Doe 1990. By her being given the name Jane Doe number 2, she obviously wasn't the only Jane Doe case that they were overseeing. Years would pass with little to no updates. This was one of those cases where advancements in technology, especially DNA testing, was needed to get any answers if no one was coming forward physically with information to help. There had been tips through the years that came in, but none of them got them any closer to giving her her name back or finding out who did this to her. The next update in this case wouldn't be until 7 years after her life was taken. In the year 2000, the first reconstruction was made of this Jane Doe. This reconstruction was made from clay and depicted what she possibly looked like in life. Photos of the clay bust, along with information about the Jane Doe, was spread around the area in the hopes of generating new leads. It did, but again, these leads went nowhere. The next main update wasn't until 15 years later in 2015, when an updated set of reconstruction photos, one from the front view and one from her profile, were done to show her likeliness. These again spread with the hopes of some answers, again met with none. Then comes the method of genetic genealogy. Genetic genealogy is the method of extracting DNA, creating a DNA profile of that DNA, entering that DNA into a genetic database in the hopes of locating familial DNA. Sometimes, if there isn't a direct match, genetic experts will construct an entire family tree for the unknown individual and try to locate the closest relatives, hopefully speak to them, and possibly discover who the DNA belongs to. From there, doing a direct DNA comparison of the suspected relatives, if they can, to the DNA of the unknown individual to verify a relation or not. In June of 2023, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, along with the District 7 Medical Examiner's Office, teamed up with Othram. This case was posted on DNASolves.com and the fundraiser goal was reached. From there, her skeletal remains were sent to their laboratory in Woodlands, Texas for further testing. Scientists at Othram successfully extracted DNA from Volusia County Jane Doe and used forensic-grade genome sequencing to develop a DNA profile. There was unfortunately no close relation that they could locate, so a family tree was constructed. From this, they were able to locate a woman believed to be the victim's sister. Detectives from the Volusia County Sheriff's Office spoke with this woman all the way in Missouri, and she verified that she had a sister who went missing after leaving the area in 1989 following a divorce from her husband. This woman in Missouri put detectives in contact with her sister's 3 children, who all verified what their aunt said. They hadn't seen their mother since 1989. This suspected sister of the victim stated that she always thought her sister had been either deceased or living in California, a place she had allegedly spent time in after leaving home. This suspected sister and a suspected daughter of the victim provided DNA to be compared to the DNA of the Jane Doe. And it was a match. On September 29th of 2023, it was released to the public that the Jane Doe found in the wooded area of Volusia County in 1990 was 32-year-old Roberta Lynn Weber, nicknamed Bobby, maiden name Headley. She was born on December 3rd of 1957. She had graduated high school in the mid-1970s and married in 1979, a decade before her divorce and her disappearance.
Human remains found over 30 years ago were just recently identified giving the victim's family some closure.
Cold case detective Bill Weaver told Fox 35 she had a few children, she was a stay-at-home mom, but she and her husband had some issues, and she left at that point. The investigation into the murder of Bobby Weber is ongoing, and detectives are asking anyone who might have information to contact the Volusia County Sheriff's Office at 386-254-1537 or via email at coldcaseunittips@volusiasheriff.gov. Authorities at this point are trying to map out everything the best that they can to try to piece together every bit of information that they can come across, talk to as many people as they can to try to find out what exactly happened, the events leading up to her murder. I can't say this for certain, but I would guess that they are taking into consideration the fact that she was found a little after spring break of 1990. With them estimating her time of death being between 3 to 8 weeks before her body was found, spring break was during that time. It could be one of those situations where someone or multiple people had met Bobby down in Volusia County during spring break of 1990. Maybe they saw her with someone who was a bit suspicious or a group of people who were a bit off-putting, and then something happened to Bobby, and these witnesses had no idea because they left the area soon after spring break was over. Spring break in Daytona Beach now, but especially back then, called a lot of people from not only around the country, but around the world. I actually have Daytona Beach spring break to thank for me even being here, because it's what called my mom to go down there in the 1990s from her hometown, and she liked it so much she decided to move there and then meet my dad. That has nothing to do with the case at hand, but my point is that it called a lot of people, and it could have called Bobby. But if it isn't obvious already, Othram is doing work that changes lives, gives closure to loved ones after sometimes decades. Like Krista Middleman told Fox 35 while discussing Bobby's case, we've been able to identify victims that have been floating in the ocean for over 95 years in Australia. Victims that have been burnt, exploded, cut into pieces, and thrown in the bottom of lakes, you name it. The Volusia County Sheriff's Office and Othram have another case, though, that needs the public's help. This is one that occurred 12 years before Bobby's case. A case currently sitting on DNASolves with $2,666.88 raised out of $7,500. October 1st of 1978, the partial skeletal remains of a man were discovered on what was then the Volusia County FFA agriculture farm in DeLand, a city at the county seat of Volusia County, Florida. The land on which these remains were found is now a part of the Volusia County Farm Bureau. No other skeletal remains belonging to this man were ever located. The Volusia County Medical Examiner's Office concluded that he was a male believed to be Hispanic and was between the ages of 21 to 35. He isn't believed to have been a victim of homicide, which is a bit surprising to most people who look into this case. They believe that he had been deceased more than 18 months at the time that he was found and had likely died as a result of natural causes. There wasn't and still isn't a whole lot to go off of with this case, but he did have gold foil restorations on the surface of multiple of his teeth on the upper front side. They also believe that his face in life may have appeared swollen and he possibly suffered from headaches or severe pain in his head on the regular. This man has been unidentified for 45 years now. They searched through missing persons records like they do with most John and Jane Does to see if he matched the description of anyone missing, but they didn't seem to match him up with anyone and still haven't. Like with any Doe case, this man may have loved ones out there wondering where he is or whatever happened to him. His life is a complete mystery. He was found on this farm in this rural area, but it didn't seem like he had any connection to anyone who had a connection to this farm. Could it have been one of those situations where he came down to Florida to work and people around him didn't know where he had come from? They didn't know anyone in his family, so when he went missing, they didn't know who to contact. Through natural causes they think that he could have passed away from. I couldn't locate what they were leaning towards. Could this be something along the lines of heat stroke? Maybe he was working in the area and he ended up succumbing to how hot it is in Florida at times. Well, this year of 2024, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office and the Volusia County Medical Examiner's Office decided to team up with Othram so this man can undergo genetic testing. If you want to donate to help make this possible, I will have the DNASolves fundraiser page linked in the description of today's video so you can possibly help give this man his name back, to hopefully reunite him with his loved ones, wherever they are. I must reiterate that Othram uploads new cases all the time on DNASolves.com. There's quite a few others that need help on there as well. If you do have the means to donate, if you are financially able to, it is for such an amazing cause. I want to thank you all for taking a little bit of time out of your day to learn about Bobby's case and also Volusia County John Doe's case. It only took me 8 years to do a video on a case, 2 cases from the area where I grew up, and fortunately I was able to work with the company that is helping solve those cases, and that just means so much to me. I want to thank Othram for wanting to work with me again on another video. If you are a newer viewer on my channel and you don't already know, for the last, I think 6 years, I have had themes on my channel for the last 4 months of the year. September is always Solve September, so if there are any solved cases that you possibly want me to cover, make sure to send those requests over to gabulosiscaserequests@gmail.com. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Stay safe like always, and I hope to see you in the next one.